Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. Today we are going to discuss about what is Commonwealth of Nations and what is going to be its future after the death of Queen Elizabeth recently. So let us try to understand the context in which we are discussing today's issue. So first of all, as all of us know, and India also has declared a day of state mourning after the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. And not only this is a delicate moment for UK, but it is also believed to be a very delicate moment for the member of British Commonwealth. If talk about the British Commonwealth, 14 countries of these member nations recognize the monarch, that is the monarch of United Kingdom, as their head of state, and this is the position that is explicitly has been mentioned in the constitutions and the laws of some of these countries. And thus it is believed that in such cases, after the death of the Queen Elizabeth, the changes to the law or a statute might be required, and it could also trigger calls for referendum in some jurisdictions where there is a significant opposition to the current situation. For example, a few years back, there was a referendum that was held in Australia to remove Queen Elizabeth as the head of state. However, that referendum was defeated by the vote of 55 to 45. So what basically is Commonwealth of Nations? So as we can see, Commonwealth is a group of 56 member countries, most of which were the member or most of which were under the domain of British Empire, or we can say were former British colonies. And the Commonwealth is not spread to local area, but it has a vast expanse expanding all the way across different continents such as Africa, Asia, Americas, Pacific, and even in Europe. So, if you try to understand the main major countries which are member of Commonwealth, we have the Canada, that is one of the developed countries. Then we have Australia, New Zealand. So these three are the main developed countries which are member of Commonwealth. As far as Asia is concerned, we have countries such as Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. Apart from that, we have Malaysia. These are the major Asian countries which are member of Commonwealth of Nations. And then most of the Commonwealth countries are spread over the South and East African continent, and two countries such as Cyprus and one more is a country that is situated in Europe which are member of Commonwealth nations. Now all the countries which are part of Commonwealth are not politically same. There is a large scale political diversity, and on the basis of the political relations between these countries and the British monarch, we can divide them or classify them into three categories. The first category of nation are something that is called as Commonwealth realms. The Commonwealth realms are 14 of the 56 countries. The countries such as Canada, Australia and New Zealand are example of this realm, and these are those countries who consider their head of state to be the Queen. And now obviously the King Charles will be considered as their head of the state. The second category or group of countries are such which are considered or which basically are republic in nature, and these are 36 in total. The countries such as India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Malaysia, etc. These are republics, and they do not recognize Queen Elizabeth or did not recognize Queen Elizabeth or any British monarch for that matter as a head of their state. The president is generally the head of the state in these countries. Then the third category of country are something that is having their own monarchy. That means they have their own king or queen, and these are total 5 in number. The best example of such countries are Brunei Darussalam. So this is a three category of political diversity that we see among the member of Commonwealth nations. So why basically Commonwealth came into existence? Let us try to understand briefly its history. So it is believed that the Commonwealth can trace its origin to somewhere in the year 1867, which was the reign of Queen Victoria, and it was an effort of Queen Victoria to maintain some kind of control over the colonies which were trying to or which were basically fighting for independence or dominant status that time. And the reason why Commonwealth was created because the Canadian people or the Canadian government was not happy with the crown and the role of British monarchy in the Canadian political system, and that is why they demanded for dominant status, which they eventually got itself. Further, in next subsequent decades, we can say somewhere from between 1880 to 1920, 1930s, mainly wide British colonies also started to fight for dominant status and equal status on the same footing as that of the United Kingdom. And such countries such as Australia, New Zealand and South America also were granted dominant status. And not only they were even granted dominant status, they were also granted equal status with the United Kingdom. Thus, after World War First, there were a lot of countries in Asia and Africa which began their fight very seriously for gaining independence from the British Crown. And that is why in 1931, Statute of Westminster came into existence, and this Statute of Westminster is believed to be the main founding treaty that has led to establishment of British Commonwealth of Nations. Now, it was the period after World War II when a lot of African and Asian countries were granted independence from the British Empire, and that is the time when 1947 India got its independence, and thus 1949 independent India was invited to join the Commonwealth formally. However, the Prime Minister of that time, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, he said that India can only join Commonwealth of Nations if it is not required to have or to swear allegiance to the crown of the United Kingdom. And this condition of India was accepted with the member states, and finally India became a member of the Commonwealth. Now, it's not only that all the 56 members are only those countries which are member of Commonwealth who have been the British subject. There are some countries such as Mozambique, Rwanda, Togo and Gabon who do not have any kind of colonial legacy with the British Empire. These countries were colonies of other European countries such as Portugal, France, Belgium and Germany. So obviously we can see that since most of countries or we can say that most of the member countries of Commonwealth do not have very strong political dependency or political relation with the British monarch, and wherever the relation exists it is mostly or basically ceremonial in nature. So what we can understand or say about the significance of this grouping in the present context. So first of all, as you can see, if you talk about in terms of population, the Commonwealth member countries are home to almost 2.5 billion people, that is almost 1/3 of the current global population. The second, it also is representation of the last vestiges of Britain's colonial empire, and thus by being member of Commonwealth, it binds British monarch and the United Kingdom in general to 150 million people who are living outside the territory of United Kingdom. The third is, however, we can understand that most of the living residents that are part of this member of Commonwealth nation, they do not have or they have not experienced a direct relationship with Britain. The reason is simple, because the present generation of people who are living in these countries already have been born in the independent countries such as India, Pakistan, Bangladesh and all these countries, and that is why they do not feel a very strong relationship or do not have any kind of experience with a direct relationship with the crown, British crown. Apart from that, the other presence, however, lies is that being a member of Commonwealth provides a lot of platform for these countries to come together, and also this country share values and ties to the British Empire in some way. Second, it also serves as a useful network of having diplomatic and cultural influence on the foreign policy and other policies of each other's territory, each other's nation, which can be beneficial to one country. And also, Commonwealth is a very good platform to portray soft power of any country on the global stage. Not only that, the membership to Commonwealth testifies to the importance of English, which has emerged as a language on a global scale as for the business activities, science as well as international politics. So obviously, the being a member of Commonwealth do not give countries some special rights and privileges, but it gives a very good platform where the countries can come together, countries having shared values, having similar kind of belief in the political structure, can come together and interact with one another, and at least, if not in hard power, can portray their soft power at the global stage. Now, Commonwealth provides a lot of platform of interaction. Some of the notable platform of interaction where countries continuously come together is the most important one, which is called as Commonwealth Head of Government Summit, which take place biannually, that means every 2 years, where the head of governments of each of the countries, member countries, come together and discuss their bilateral and multilateral relations. The second method of interaction is Commonwealth Local Government Forum. As clear from the name itself, Commonwealth Local Government Forum provides opportunities for the local government within each countries, whether it can be a district level or a state level, to have certain kind of relation or try to we can say interact with each other and try to learn best practices which can be implemented on practical level within the territory of these local governments. The third most important platform for interaction is something that is referred as Commonwealth of Learning, which provide opportunity to have interaction and have relation as far as the education is concerned. Here also there is a provision of distance learning platforms that has been created, and distance learning education which are basically recognized by the member nations of the Commonwealth. However, the most important platform, which basically is most strongly remind us of ourselves that we are a member of Commonwealth, is Commonwealth Games that are held every 4 years The last time India hosted this Commonwealth Games in year 2010, and the recent Commonwealth Games has been held in Birmingham, United Kingdom in 2022, and again in 2026 it will be held in Australia. So this is one of the most important activity and platform where all the member countries come together, and also create a kind of a sense of camaraderie between the member states. So let us try to understand now about the relation of Queen Elizabeth II and the Commonwealth. So the beginning of relation between Queen Elizabeth II and Commonwealth can be traced back to somewhere in the April 21st, 1947, when she was just 21st years of old, and for the first time she addressed the youth of British family of nation, basically meaning the Commonwealth member nations, and promised to pledge her life to the service of the Commonwealth Union. After that, when in June 2nd, 1953, she was finally ascended the throne after death of last King George VI. Then at that time, she embarked on a tour of Commonwealth member countries, and it is believed that she is one of the most travelled head of government or head of state. She has travelled to more than 100 countries in her lifetime. And last, we can say that as far as the roles and responsibilities, however, of Queen Elizabeth II toward Commonwealth is concerned, she do not have any kind of influence, or at least we can say very strong influence or significant influence on the governance of either of the member states. The main roles and responsibilities she has is with regard to the Commonwealth realms, the 14 countries that are part of Commonwealth realms, and there also she has some constitutional duties which were mostly ceremonial in nature. The example of such duties were like we can say approving the election of head of the state, or approving certain kind of legislation, or providing certain kind of state honor to the people belonging to these particular countries. Now obviously the Commonwealth has seen the changes in its composition, because many member countries, especially in the 1970s, have left the Commonwealth. The notable countries which have left the Commonwealth are Dominica, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago. Similarly, in 2021, the last country to leave Commonwealth was Barbados, and Barbados was celebrating the 51st year of its independence from British Empire, and the governor of Barbados has said that the time has come fully to leave our colonial past behind, and that is why we have to leave the Commonwealth, because it is a reminder of the colonial past of the British colony. At the same time, the present member states, after the death of Queen Elizabeth II, it is believed that some of the member states might try to leave the Commonwealth, and there are three ways how they can leave the Commonwealth. One is for the countries which are part of Commonwealth realm, they have to do the constitutional amendment, and after constitutional amendment, they can remove the present king, like King Charles III, who has succeeded throne after Queen Elizabeth II. So they can remove him as a head of the state. Second method how they can exit Commonwealth is by holding referendums among the population, as has been done in the case of Australia. And then after holding referendum, if the approval is done to remove the king as head of state, then also they can exit it. Third is, some countries, they have written in their constitution or their laws that queen is the head of the state. Now obviously, since the queen has been succeeded by the king, now they have to do the amendment where they have to replace the word queen by king. So it is also believed that some of the member states might not go ahead and might not replace the word queen with king, and in that matter, the relation between the monarchy, British monarchy, and these countries will also be suspended and will end. So these are the three ways generally how exit can be done. Apart from that, we talk about the major proponents or main arguments that is given in favor of exiting Commonwealth is because it is believed that with the end of reign of Elizabeth II, it is believed that this union of Commonwealth was forged on the basis of subordination, and also it is associated with some bad things such as racism and the colonial rule, and that is why, since now Elizabeth II has died, it should also be allowed to fade away. That means the Commonwealth should also be allowed to fade away. So what we can say basically in conclusion is that obviously, since Queen Elizabeth II has been the longest serving monarch of this world, she enjoyed immense popularity and the goodwill among both in the United Kingdom as well as other member states of the Commonwealth. And that is why it is believed that she was acting like a binding glue to this union. And that is why now, after succession of King Charles and the Queen Consort Camilla, it is doubtful that whether they will enjoy a similar kind of affection, whether they will enjoy a similar kind of popularity and goodwill in the other countries, and that could basically in the end determine the future of the Commonwealth, that how the relation between the present king, queen, and the Commonwealth member countries develop. So that is all about this particular issue. I hope you understood about the Commonwealth and the challenges and the issues with regard to this particular union. That is all for today. Thank you.